Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down some of the Kansas City Chiefs' recent roster cuts. The Chiefs cut 3 wide receivers from this team about an hour ago, so I'm going to break down the wide receivers that got cut and how that's going to impact the Chiefs moving forward. So, the first guy the Kansas City Chiefs decided to part ways with was a very controversial one, and that is wide receiver Kadarius Toney. The second wide receiver the Chiefs released was wide receiver Justyn Ross, and the third and final player the Chiefs released as we get closer to the final 53-man cutdown is not a wide receiver, but rather the former rugby star Rees Zammit. And this is all according to Jordan Schultz on Twitter. And I can't say that I'm super surprised that LRZ didn't make the team. I thought he was going to be a practice squad candidate at best, but it was pretty obvious that the guy that had never played football before was just not going to make this team. But he could be a good project for the future. Maybe he comes back on the practice squad, or maybe he goes back to playing rugby. I really don't know, but I think that the Chiefs tried the experiment of LRZ in Kansas City, and he just didn't prove to be ready yet. So that one wasn't too much of a shock. Now, the Chiefs releasing Justyn Ross was kind of a surprise. Justyn Ross was actually playing some of his best football that we've seen here in Kansas City. Now, obviously, last year, he was the most hyped up player in training camp and in the preseason, but he didn't really do much, but he made the team, and they had some legal stuff going on behind the scenes. And this year, during this camp, he actually had a pretty good training camp and had a couple really good catches in the preseason. But the Chiefs signed Juju Smith-Schuster yesterday to a 1-year contract, just adding another wide receiver to a room that was already pretty full. And so I had a feeling that once we started to talk about players that were going to get cut, it was going to be a guy that normally would have made the team if Juju Smith-Schuster didn't get signed. So Justyn Ross seems to be that casualty. But the next guy the Chiefs released was Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney has been a very controversial player during his time here. He's had moments of brilliance. In Super Bowl 57, he had that punt return and brought it back to like the 2 or 3 yard line, and he caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. But then obviously he had the biggest issue out of any of the Chiefs wide receivers last year, and that was catching the football. He had the most drops on the team, and he costed this team, I want to say, about 2 or 3 games in the regular season that they would not have lost if Kadarius Toney was not playing. So I think that one makes sense to kind of part ways. The Chiefs probably should have made that move last year during the season, really. Kadarius Toney has not been a productive player on this team in a year and a half. So it makes sense that the Chiefs released him, but the reason that he even came back, for camp this year is because the Chiefs were going to try to squeeze every little thing out of Kadarius Toney that they could, and it appeared that he just didn't have much left in the tank. A guy that had seemingly all the talent in the world just could not figure out the drop situation. And he had okay games in the preseason. He had a good preseason game, 2 or 3, but it wasn't going to be enough to save him, considering he's been pretty much non-existent in training camp. And last year, he just hurt this team too much. So Kadarius Toney makes sense as to why the Chiefs released him. I mean, all these players really make sense. I think Justyn Ross might be maybe the most surprising. A lot of people thought that he was going to be wide receiver 7 on this team. But again, with the addition of Juju Smith-Schuster, it didn't make sense to keep another wide receiver. And that's why when the Chiefs signed Juju yesterday, I thought that one of those players, a Kadarius Toney or a Justyn Ross, their job was basically done. The Chiefs went out, they outsourced those 2 players' jobs, and they have a much more secure wide receiver 4 or 5 than a Justyn Ross or Kadarius Toney on the bubble. That move was clearly for insurance, and that was the only reason that they did it. But it marked the end of Kadarius Toney's time in Kansas City. And the Justyn Ross experiment was pretty short. And I guess there's a chance that maybe he comes back on the practice squad, but some team might give him a flyer. Some team might give him an opportunity to play for their team. And that's great for Justyn Ross. But, even last year when he had all this hype, I didn't think he was going to do much during the regular season. It's just one of those stories where a guy gets hyped up out of camp and then doesn't end up doing much. And for LRZ, Zammit could be a good option in the future for the kickoff rule. But again, since he had not played football before, he's got a lot of learning and growing to do before he could ever be, a quality player in this league, if that's even what he ends up being. So that is the Kansas City Chiefs roster cuts. The Chiefs cut 3 guys in Kadarius Toney, Rees Zammit, and Justyn Ross. A lot more cuts are going to be coming here in the next couple hours and probably in the next coming days. So if you guys want to be on the lookout for that, stay tuned to this channel. I will say I will be going live on Thursday at 3 p.m. at the Hollywood Casino. And the Hollywood Casino is actually doing a giveaway where you can enter to win a $50 Penn Sports Play and a $50 voucher for Penn Cash. And the only way that you can enter is by going to my social media, KC_Sports Report, following the both of us, and comment your favorite sports team, which if you're watching this video, I hope is the Kansas City Chiefs. But also, if you come out to the casino on the 29th, I will be there going live, and the Hollywood Casino is actually giving out some pretty great prizes, which include an Isaiah Pacheco jersey that's signed, a Bobby Witt Jr. MVP jersey which is signed, and so if you have the chance, definitely come out. I will say you have to be 21 years or older to enter the giveaway, but I would love to see you guys out at the casino on Thursday. So until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.